not cool civil war lasted about 2 years and then resulted in the Taliban having control of the country from 1996 onward. And while there are other newsworthy events after that and before and during, I'm just gonna skip ahead to 2000-ish, maybe 2001, specifically September of 2001, when a group of mostly Saudi Arabian terrorists with ties to Al-Qaeda, a group that isn't the Taliban but also has close ties to the Taliban, carried out an attack on America that, really upset a lot of people for a lot of reasons. Like how they had to delay the release of Training Day because of it. Great film. Ethan Hawke, man. Seems like a pretty good guy. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? He had that cheating thing. Not good. Anyway, 9/11. We're talking about 9/11 and how not a month after that, we began Operation Enduring Freedom, also known as Operation Bomb the Living Shit out of Afghanistan before occupying the country for 20 years.
The United States military has begun strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
Ah, yeah, there he is. Remember him? And listen, there's a lot here, about the war, and Bush, Osama bin Laden, Iraq, Saddam, and how it seems like a lot of what we did there had nothing to do with 9/11 or terrorism or freedom, and the Taliban actually offered to turn in Osama bin Laden after 9/11, and we refused, and we'll circle back to all that, but you sort of remember, and if not, we'll certainly jog your memory, and maybe you weren't even born or sentient for that, and you're like, one of those freaks who's somehow under 20? Do those even exist? I've only read about them. But for now, let's move ahead to what happened with the Taliban, who after enduring freedom, sort of scattered and then regrouped around 2003. We then spend a whole lot of years, lives, and money continuing to fight them in Afghanistan because of freedom and other junk. And whenever it seemed like we could leave, we just didn't. And instead, the war just got bigger. Then a new person became president and said this.
Tonight, I can report to the American people and to the world that the United States has conducted an operation that killed Osama bin Laden, the leader of Al-Qaeda.
Remember that guy dying? Motherfucker wasn't even in Afghanistan. Also, back in 2001, the Taliban literally offered to give him to us after 9/11. And Bush refused for reasons. That's weird, but hey, we did it! I guess. And that's about when, for the 5th time, an American president seemed to be indicating that the war was finally winding down, and that we were going to pull our troops out of Afghanistan. The event was, after all, the thing we were originally there to do, get bin Laden. And then we did it. Not pull out of Afghanistan, mind you. We actually, we didn't do that. And then we continued to not do that for 10 more years. And then Ethan Hawke starred in that Purge movie. And then a new guy became president. And the subsequent Purge films got depressingly relevant because this new president guy, man, he was pretty terrible. And we certainly won't get into all of that, except to say that this new terrible president, like all the presidents before him, inherited a real pickle of a war and had a lot of ideas about ending that war. But at first was like, oh, let's do more war because he was pretty stupid. But then later was like, okay, maybe let's do less war because we were hitting 20 years and everyone was like, hey, why are we still doing this war? And also we were like, hey, where did all these Nazis come from? And also, oh, wow, we're all dying because of a virus. And also, the sun sure feels hotter. And also, we were like, holy shit, did they just try to do a stupid coup? And so we were juggling a lot of stuff, is my point. Also, First Reformed had come out and was sweeping a nation, Remember when we couldn't stop talking about First Reformed? Starring Ethan Hawke? He's great. But buried within all of that other stuff, there was yet another official promise to pull out of Afghanistan. And it seemed pretty clear that getting troops out of Afghanistan was complicated and probably disastrous. Even the really dumb treason president seemed to understand that. And we'll certainly get into why pulling out would destabilize the country. But the point is that we were super gonna do it this time. We set a date and everything. But then that treason stuff happened where the dumb president got elected out of office and we got a slightly better president, but still not And while Joe Biden initially did delay Trump's promise that was sort of also Obama's promise that was sort of also Bush's promise to leave Afghanistan, he actually did do that thing. After 20 years, Joe Biden pulled out of Afghanistan. Classy stuff, show. Great job. And on July 2nd, 2021, U.S. troops left Bagram Airfield, the hub of the war, and handed it over to Afghan security forces. And by handed it over, I actually mean left without telling anyone. And aside from the 650 U.S. troops specifically stationed to protect the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, we were more or less officially out of the country. Meanwhile, since May, the Taliban had launched an offensive and began reclaiming areas. And after killing or wounding nearly 2,400 Afghan civilians, by the end of July, they had about half of the country. By mid-August, they had taken over Bagram Airfield, and via very familiar imagery, the US evacuated its embassy as the Taliban took full control over the country. So, there you have it. I know that was a very long and unnecessary recap of the last 20 plus years. It might have been tough for you to sit there and have all that time wasted, only to end up back where we started with nothing gained. You know, really annoying stuff, to have wasted a lot of time and effort and money and lives that could have been spent on other things. You know, about $2 trillion, 20 years, and oh right, the lives of 2,448 US troops, 3,846 contractors, 72 journalists, 51,191 Taliban fighters, 444 aid workers, 1,144 allied service members, 66,000 Afghan military members, and f***ing 47,245 civilians. Great jobs all around, no notes. Way to squander an incalculable amount of human existence on something so flimsy that it fell apart faster than this joke setup. See, because we love to frame it as 20 years of effort gone in just a few weeks, but that's not really what happened, is it? If something falls apart in a few weeks after 20 years, it means we didn't spend those 20 years actually building something stable. We failed continuously and for 2 decades. And now the world is, or at least should be, laughing at us. Absolutely pathetic, America. And to blame one person for that just isn't gonna cut it. I mean, sure, some people share more blame than others, but we'll get to all of the blame some other time. Right now, we need to move on, get into other oily news content. It's time for Afghanistan. Who do we blame? Oh, okay, I guess we're gonna do that right now, after all. Okay, shit. Jesus, shit. Jesus' shit and piss. Who do we blame for everything that happened in Afghanistan? Well, naturally, when figuring that out, we'll turn to the one group that definitely shares no blame and can freely criticize U.S. policy, the GOP.
What we have seen is an incredibly poorly executed exit from the theater, and it is endangering the lives. Thousands of Americans remain in Afghanistan. It appears the administration had no reasonable plan to safely allow those Americans to leave. Thousands of Afghans aided and assisted our military presence for decades, and it appears that the administration had little to no plan to help those Afghans exit the country as well. And this is a military failure, a failure in planning, a failure in execution that falls squarely on the president. And sadly, at least so far, it seems the president is trying to blame everyone except himself and his own administration.
Thanks, Ted. Enjoy getting ratioed by lame-ass CNN, you weird, lying weirdo. Congratulations on using this historic moment to harass a woman online. Weirdo freak liar. Weirdo Ted is now calling for an investigation into everything that's happened this month. And while that's probably more because of the right's deep sexual lust to have their own gotcha impeachment like the other team did, twice with that terrible president that they didn't even like, he's also, I guess, not wrong about needing an investigation. But also, not the type of investigation he probably plans on having, where they lay a 20-year war started by George Bush and a 2002 Congress on Joe Biden. But also, Joe Biden was one of those people in 2002 who voted for this 20-year war, and also he absolutely could have worked toward a smoother transition. But also, so could have Trump, or Obama for that matter. And we're going to talk about that at some point. But what's key here is that, despite the need for actual accountability and an investigation into exactly what went wrong, and the bigger conversation we're about to have and all of that, what we shouldn't do is tolerate the chorus of conservative ghouls taking their weird victory lap because Biden f***ed up the withdrawal. A thing that the majority of Americans wanted. A thing that a lot of these same freaks were gunning for when their guy was the president. And by this,